Right, I call the working meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Our first thing is we have Chris Reno here from Colin Banowski. He's going to present the order for 2018-2019.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
You want to pull a chair up?
Yeah.
Oh, are they attached, those chairs, John?
Yeah.
You know what, give me your chair.
I can move over there.
Oh,
No, I'll move over there.
okay. Yeah, I don't.
He just not gonna make it. Back.
One of the six partners, Colin Banowski, were hired as your external auditor to render an opinion on your financial statements. To provide reasonable assurance, they're relatively free of material in the statements. Financial statements are a little different this year. What we used to do is something called, basis based on the comptroller's annual update report, which we filed back in July before the due date.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is just an extra copy of it. Okay, so basically you used to have your table of contents, the audited opinion, and then right to the fund statement. So the AICPA is now requiring us to do what they call GAAP financial statements. So if you go to the table of contents, I'll just talk you through it real quick. So basically, with the old financial statements, you had your independent auditor's report, and you have an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you have.
The village has that?
Yeah,
Okay.
except for, there's like one adverse exception though, it has to do with the capital assets.
Okay.
Which is needed inventory. So we say everything, so we have an unmodified opinion except for having the appraisal done. You're not the only village out there with that issue. So, and then normally the next page would be page 13, which is your balance sheet for the general fund. So what AICPA is making us do is present GAAP, generally accepted accounting principle financial statements now, which requires something called an MD&A, which is a management discussion analysis. Basically what that does is it just spells out the highlights of the financials. So it's a narrative that's, like 7 pages long, talks about, the activities as if you were a corporation, we'll say, which is those pages 11 and 12, statement of net position and activity. So, and then we talk about next year's budget. So this is discussion analysis. Now, the purpose of the net position and activities is they're trying to treat everything more like a corporation. So what they're doing is they're showing you now like the bond. That will be on your books as a liability. It's not reflected in your, general fund statement per se. And the principal payments and expenditure in the general fund, but in these statement of activities, they take that bond principal out and treat it as a reduction of principal as if it was a corporation. So that's the purpose of these reports. And then, they're supposed to have your fixed assets and then record depreciation. And it costs a lot of money because you have to get, an appraisal company to come in and update every year for depreciation. So it's not cost effective for,
Someone that has a small budget like we do.
yeah, the only ones who have a pass on the fire districts. Because in the comptroller's accounting reporting manual, they say they can report based on the annual update document, which is in your file. So all of a sudden the AICPA about a year or so ago was saying, you can't do that anymore, you gotta do GAAP financial statements and then just have an opinion saying, if they don't have this or that. So we gotta go through the process. So this is a lot thicker than last year's financial, a lot more time on our end.
In the past, when we had, I know that there were things that needed to be corrected for the following year.
Right.
Is that going to be in this statement, or is this going to be in this one now?
Well, no, we discussed the capital assets here
Okay.
in the actual report itself. So there's no need for a management letter comment for that.
Okay.
Because, when we first started, we did have management comments. They were addressed, all of them, about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So last year, there was no management letter, and this year, once again, because you had, Natalie, outside accountant, you got somebody with knowledge who knows how to do bookkeeping and stuff. You don't have that issue. Because it's just the fixed, capital assets is the only issue.
It's the only issue we didn't correct, and we did look into it,
Yeah.
but it cost so much money. It was like $30,000 to do the
Tremendous.
audit. Yeah, so
Actually,
we,
we're in this.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's the bad thing about trying to do GAAP financial statements and be in accordance with GAAP is the costs that are involved, because you have health insurance benefits, you have to get an actuary for that and do calculations as well. It's crazy. So, anyway, so if we look at the controllers reports and, we see what they're going after, and what we would have done was we would have had these comments in what's called management letters, but since, you got the clean set of books and you got somebody there, everything was followed up, and so there's no letters, so that's really good. And anyway, so like I did last year, what I did was I just put together a history of the fund balance.
Thank you.
Because if you recall, when I was here last year, the fund balance was, your unassigned fund balance, that's what you have left over. There's just different categories. You have non-spendable, so like if you prepaid something, it has to do with next year's budget, like prepaid insurance. You carve that out of the unassigned fund balance because it's already been spent, so it's already technically gone. So it's
Okay.
gotta be carved out. And then we set aside money for snow removal, and that's known as an assigned fund balance. So basically, it's your law. So if you decide you don't need that money anymore, you need it for something else, you can take that out. Okay. Now, say with the bond that you did, the $250,000 bond, if you didn't spend that whole amount, all right, and you were done with the docs, basically whatever was left over would be a restricted fund balance, and that legally can only be used to pay down the debt.
yeah,
Okay, so
we used it.
yeah, I know, it's all that. Yeah, I have everything here. Yeah. So it's all in one year. It's good. So makes it nice and clean. So anyway, so restricted fund balance, there's municipal law restrictions on what you can do with it. But with an assigned fund balance, you're the law. So so it's not committed and tied there. You've decided you want it out, it can come out. That different story. And then the appropriated fund balance is to balance your budget. So, and then the other side is what's left over. So, like I said, we went, back in 2015, we were at 100,000, and it kind of slowly went down a little bit, then bounced up, but then we went down to like 35 last year,
Mhm.
and this year you actually bounced back up. So that's good. You're about almost $50,000. So you're heading in the right direction, which is great. And on top of that, you're not appropriating as much fund balance anymore. To balance the budgets. So the lower that number, the less you're eating away at your fund balance. Because basically, you're anticipating on having your expenditures exceed your revenues by $13,000. That's what the appropriation is. It's a funding source. It's not a revenue. So it comes out of that assigned fund balance. So we pull that out, but the number's going down, so that's a good sign. Okay. So financially, everything's getting better. It's good. And so these, so that those numbers from this sheet I handed out are reflected in a couple of places. On page 8 of that MD&A, National Special Analysis, we have the breakdown on number 4 of the pieces that make up that 114,000 of fund balance in comparison to last year. And then below that, number 5 on page 8, we show how we started out with the unassigned fund balance of 35. We exceeded our revenues by 30,000, and then we had the expenditures 41, and we wound up at 49. Okay, after taking everything else out of the mix. And then that's also reflected on page 13, which used to be your page 4 of your balance sheet. Okay, so you see those numbers there in the fund balance. So that's how all the numbers tie out there. I like handing this out because it kind of gives you more of a history as far as what's going on, just instead of talking about the 1 year here and now. And so that's the financials themselves. And then the other thing here that is the letter is the communication to the board. If we had any difficulties in the audit, which we did not, and then we just attach our journal entries. And as minimum we had 8. And mostly it's the accruals that you have to do. So it's not like there's issues with the books. It's just year end we have to show certain liabilities and receivables and stuff.
So I think Natalie did all those already, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we sent them, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were ready, I think, right after the file, but it took a little more time because I put this new report together to kind of create it from scratch. So, yeah, so I think, we finalized this about a month ago and communicated with them and squared away. And, so anyway, so this is just the journal entries for the communication. And other than that, that's the audit, everything, was great this year. No complaints, And we went after the body, fixed the docks.
Just one question on page 4 where it says expenditures over budget.
Yeah, I think that, should say under,
Yes.
so I will correct that. No problem. So I don't know if you want me to just take it back and fix it?
No.
No? Okay, but I'll fix it for the record, so we have it, if you want me to look at the state, yeah.
Where is that?
Right here. It says, should say under, it's not over, because last year it was over. So it's just a matter of, it's follow through from last year.
Anybody have any questions?
Other than that,
If you do, like I said, we're not gonna approve it till November. You could always email Chris, or me or Natalie or Ron.
yeah, any questions?
Looks good though, thank you.
Yes? Great
So,
job.
and then I spoke to you today about the court, so once we get that, I'll send it over to Paul and he can start working on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Jim tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll contact Leslie.
I would send it to Paul.
Well,
Yeah, if you wanna just CC me on it, so I can make sure that they know. She was kinda confused about what the bank statement, one month she needed and stuff, but that'll be on the list, so she.
yeah, it's gonna be the, same fiscal year, June to May.
Yeah,
That's it.
okay, good, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Anytime,
Thank you.
any questions?
Yeah, it's good.
I'm right up the road.
What are you referring to? On
Page 4.
Page 4.
Yeah, page 4.
Yeah. Yeah, there was an oversight on our fault. All right.
Page 4.
You said page, you showed me page 8.
I'm sorry, number 4.
Number 4 on the page.
Another 4 page.
Yeah, it's just say under budget, not over. Because you underspent the budget by $250,000. So it just says say under.
Expenditures under.
Yeah.
I know that because when we make public that we've got this, somebody's gonna want a copy.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna give them my copy with the cross out.
Right, how convenient.
That says that we were under budget by 41,000.
No, what I'll do,
Really up to something again, Joe?
no, what I'll do is
I was gonna ask that.
I'll change the wording and just email you PDF.
Okay.
That way, if you can print that out. And give it
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, that'll make it easier too,
Thank
don't
you,
worry about it,
yes.
so.
No, no problem. Sorry for the.
I know I'm gonna get nailed on that one.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Here, I got a couple extra copies. All right, thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, number 2, road safety concerns for the residents request from Facebook. So Tina contacted the striping company, and then you guys wanted to add a couple other things like stop, and so she met with him, she showed him a diagram, she marked everything out, and we're just waiting for him to give us a price and a date that he can do it. Okay.
Did we agree on a budgeted amount? Or we gonna-
No, we were just waiting to see what he
See
came
what
up
he
with
says
first.
first.
Yeah.
Darn.
Okay, Adrian.
Have to run up the
Yeah, I
stairs
think we
now.
have flexibility there. If it's
Yeah.
expensive, then the bare minimum.
We
is
are
just
definitely not
stop
slow.
line.
Right, he's giving us both prices, so, yeah. And then we could always see if it's a lot of money, who else could do it, but I saw he did a lot of other work, and he seems like he's just like a one-man guy who was, so it's not, I don't think it's gonna be that crazy.
We had a guy that striped the Parking lot.
I know, can't find
California
him.
Park, but I can't remember the guy's name.
We can't.
No, Jeff found him.
Yeah.
One Jeff was the trustee of the
He
California Board.
could, he could be low now, but now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned
Number
Probably
3,
paint the big white brush.
yeah, that's what he did, yeah. The vines, they came, they took care of them. I don't know, did you, what happened with the tree trimming?
Well, first he said the original thing was 1 to 2 weeks,
Okay.
possibly 3 to 4 weeks. So after the 4th week, I texted him, I said, we made it through that windstorm, okay, but we really need to get on this. So he just texted me back from yesterday, firm date of 11/4 and 11/5.
Okay. Okay, update on Maple Avenue and Drain Project. The clerk's office put in the public notice to accept bids, and we're gonna do that at the November meeting. Did we get any bids yet?
One.
One, okay.
I just want to put on the table that, because we're getting close, that we need to, and possibly with resident input, figure out how that is going to affect the traffic walking to that area too. And so, you know, I don't know if there are any elderly or medical people that we need to have a plan for. That's,
Why don't I send an email to the people that are on those 2 streets and just let them know that we're accepting bids in November, and we're not exactly sure when the work will start, but we need to know if anyone needs, you know, they may have to park the park, or they may have to park on Chestnut for a couple of days, like we did with Walnut, right, and see if they need anything.
well, we also should think about the unplanned. If somebody who says, oh, I'm in perfect health, has a heart attack, and all of a sudden they need an ambulance, what's the plan? We have to make sure that we have people that.
Why, is it gonna be, are they saying, did someone say it's gonna be a total road closure?
Yes, that's what we were told. Who
Yeah.
said
Oh, they
that?
told you that?
Yeah, Rich and Mike are both there,
Okay.
so it'll be for a few days.
Okay.
I mean, there might be days where they can get by, but there's gonna be a
Right.
few days where they're not gonna be able to get on the road. It's gonna be just completely ripped up, so.
Talking about making a new?
Mhm.
So if you're gonna send that out to them, is to just say, how would you like to, what would you like to see for emergency?
Mhm.
And maybe get some suggestions.
Okay. Update on residents concerned for flooding on 25A. Tina was handling that. I didn't get anything from her on that. I know she sent out letters to the people that live there, but, well, I'm just gonna table it till November. Floating docks, so the only thing we didn't get any bids back for that yet, right? No, okay. But we did get, one of the residents looked into a bubble system for the 2 floating docks that if we had to leave them in the water, and it was like $1,200. So we're gonna include that in the bid when we find out about the docks, because that might be the way to go. So that's for November too.
Okay. You know, part of taking them out is also to clean off the bottom of the barnacles and mussels and stuff. So if we did that as part of the plan, we might think about whether or not there is some, is there a dive company, or there's somebody who goes down there and swim through?
Well, there's definitely people who do that, they do it for boats, so there's definitely people out there who do that.
Yeah, well, that would be a.
Tell David to get that wetsuit on.
That would be a great way to save on that whole issue of hauling. Because that was gonna be, we were never gonna have a bunch of guys go down there and poke them up in the way.
Well, maybe you will the first year, but then people leave and, you know,
No, you have the guy haul it out.
yeah. No, you gotta have, we
Are
gotta.
we not getting, is it,
You
are we not getting?
you would need a
stuck in
porta
bids
crane
on
from the
the
dock,
job?
from the,
Oh,
You know what it is,
Ramp to
it's
the-
telling you that
Whatever it
everyone's
is, it was gonna
doing
cost
stuff
money.
like
We
getting the
said,
boats
"Don't worry
out,
about
getting
it."
everything out, so
You throw it in,
they're trying to get
pick
us
it up.
bids, but they have to go down and look at it, then they meet Mike, they have questions, so
Okay.
that's why.
I haven't put a float in the water in a couple of years.
I suspect in a few weeks we'll have,
Well, last year, the
Plenty
year
of
before, I
bids,
went
but
down,
just, it was nice that the
John,
resident went and found out
yeah,
a
that's
different
right.
option, right,
Yeah,
so.
that's great. That, he talked about what the deal was, so I went down there and watched it.
Surprised Pete Murphy just doesn't do it.
It is a big deal.
He's one of the people,
Oh,
and
yes,
he
okay.
said to Mike, I'll get to you, I just can't get to it yet, like,
Yeah.
you know, so. Joe, do you wanna talk about, we have resolution to access, town of Brookhaven's assessments?
Okay, well, let me go here. We've been contacted by the town of Brookhaven. They're working with a grant that they received from the state of New York to enter into agreements with all the villages that are in the town of Brookhaven to basically combine services. And what they want to do is to have the village of Poquott give them all our information regarding assessments, which is fine because we don't do our own assessments. They sent me over the village of Bellport's resolution or whatever they do, and the village of Bellport has their own assessment, so. But we do not have that, so we want to get into the town of Brookhaven's portal. They have a portal where we can get into, which we can get online and look at our own assessments from their records on the spot. And instead of waiting for a physical printout to come out from the town of Brookhaven, we could probably print it out ourselves off of their website
Wow, Joe, I can't believe you're saying these words.
That's why it's Cindy.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You don't think I'm doing that, do you? No way. I am computer illiterate.
Joe the geek.
Yeah.
But they will give us access to the portal, and we can go basically in there and say, okay, fine, this property here, we've got an indication that they're gonna get cut because of what? They're going and complaining about their taxes to the town, what's gonna affect us, et cetera. We had one the other day, we got it from an attorney, and they went from 8,700 to, no, 8,900 to 8,740. We're only charging them 87, so I don't know where the hell that. So they wanted to rebate the taxes, so we sent them a check for $5. And told the guy, you know, that's not the assessment we're using. I don't know where you got the assessment.
What did they get out of
We
it?
told the attorney. Anyhow, so this will come up as a resolution, and that's basically what it's for. We want to get onto the town assessor's portal.
Right. So the resolution's gonna allow us to enter into an agreement with Town of Brookhaven to share their portal. So that's what we're approving at the business meeting.
And we're not going to give them our information because we don't have it.
Right.
Actually, I went to a meeting, I probably filled in for you at the mayor's, and the assessor for the town of Brookhaven sought me out to complain that we don't send them tax information.
We do, once a year. We send them stuff that's being done once a year, right?
They come in once a year, pick up all the permits which pertain to any kind of increase to the size of the property, the buildings, I should say, or any changes that would increase the assessment.
How long is
They
that?
tear down a house,
How long?
once a year,
No, how long has that been going on?
since I've been clerk.
So, what
He
did you say?
What I think he was trying to say, because he had the conversation with me too, was that he believes we're not giving him all the building projects that are being done.
That's what he
So
said.
what they're doing, they were
No,
gonna
they're
send a
on the-
drone through to see if people were building things that we weren't reporting. If they were, then we didn't have a copy of it. So,
Can I say something on that?
you can have public comments.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
The situation there was the building department annually would come in here and we would give them a stack of our permits. And then they would go out and do an assessment of the properties that were covered by those permits.
They don't do that anymore.
And
Yeah, with drones.
the situation was that they didn't like waiting once a year, I guess. I mean, we.
And they don't
actually-
send a person anymore. They just want it emailed to them, so they don't physically have a person that's going out and checking that those things were
They
done.
use drones.
When we originally started, we used to get 4 copies of the building permits and the plans, and one set went right to the town. This was stacked for the town, it was marked town of Brookhaven, put in a stack. And once a year, we just bundle it up, and they would come over and they would pick it up. So the assessor would then get in his car and drive around to all those residences and see what was done, and he would look at the assessment and change the assessment. That's how they did it.
And if he saw something was done that wasn't on there, he'd come back to here and say, this was not right. But they don't do that, they don't actually send somebody
No,
out
they don't.
anymore.
That's how they called Bob Morton's house on Morton Manor Drive. Guy was
That's it.
parked at Fantel's, looked across the yard and says, wait a minute, I don't have that house with that much space. Went back and found out they put on 2 extensions that we didn't even know about.
Hard to believe that we don't know about it.
You've never been on Morton Manor Drive.
True.
It's a dirt road.
Yeah, they have that's the road with the sign, looks like it's from Walt Disney World, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Anything else on that? Any questions? No? Okay. Jacqueline, did you have a chance to research policies for social media?
So I researched probably 15 different policies. Some of them were sample policies. I found 2 that had actually been done by other villages. I think simple is better because some of them get into so much detail. So I think it's a matter of what we're trying to accomplish. You know, obviously we want people to be able to give their opinions, but it's in the way that they do it. So what I had thought about doing, I had actually highlighted when I went through all the policies, what I felt would be good for Poquott, and I was going to kind of put all of that into a policy and then present it to you and see what you thought about it.
That's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
And if you get it done, if you want to send it email first,
yeah,
that's fine. If you don't, if you want to bring us to the next meeting, that's fine too.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How will we put this into official policy? Do we vote on it as a, I think
Yeah.
that goes into, I mean, it's not a code, it's not, what do we, it's a resolution? It's just
It's,
a-
we have a lot of policies. We
It
have a
should be
whole bunch of
voted
on.
policies. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it's it would be our social media policy, so.
We have one for website, we
Yeah,
have
we
one
have
for
that.
computer, yeah, okay. Okay, so, anything on that? Okay, number 9, we had John fix the leak down at the park and redid the sprinklers, redid the shower thing. He said that the sprinklers are all kind of Band-Aid together, wanted to know if we wanted a proposal to fix them all. Joe and I were talking about it today. I think the system is just so old that heads are gonna break. I mean, my system every year, I have to replace heads or whatever. So I think that's not really something that we need to invest in redoing all the sprinkler system now. I feel that way, I don't know how you guys feel. But the one thing we need to do for next year's budget is we have to redo the water fountain that's over in Trustees Park. David put like duct tape on it to stop it from leaking, but it's time. We've painted it, we've done everything we can to
Yeah,
it.
the new one
So,
looks nice. But it did raise the issue, actually, this was something that Joe Poquott raised about the trees. We have to do a better job of getting and documenting, putting it in writing somehow, other bids, when we're not formally required to put something out to bid. The requirements for formal bidding are clear, and we put it in the paper and we open them and all that. But the guidelines say that anything over, what was it, Joe? It was 1,500 for non-capital projects or something like that?
Yeah, and $2,500 for equipment.
For equipment, or, actually, when I did this stuff, it was for anything, a cutoff. If we're gonna spend $2,500 on something, we should make a couple of calls, and that's what happened with the tree. When I got that estimate from John, our tree guy, Joe had said, why don't you call somebody else and just get another. So I did, and then I said, well, what do I do with that information? So I wrote up a memo to the clerk, and I brought it over here, and I said, this is how we used to do it. It should go in the file, so at least we have a record for auditing purposes that we did do that. And then I spoke to Joe, Cindy was there, we kicked it around. It's something that we have new trustees. It's something that we should be reminded about on a regular basis about how to go about these things. It's very easy, such as this plumbing repair down there at the beach. For somebody to say, not a big deal, I could do it for like a couple $100. And then it comes in and it's like, well, I found that it's really a big deal, I have to do this, and all of a sudden you're spending $2,500. And then you're over that limit, and we never got an estimate from anyone else. And anybody coming in to audit us would say, well, could you have done better, and where is that information? So I think we should make some kind of an agreement. I mean, just bringing it up kind of puts it back at the table, but we should make some kind of agreement that we all understand that anytime we're spending any kind of real money, and I would say just, for $1,000 or something, but we need to do it for $1,500 for most things, is to get it and put it in, Cindy said, just shoot it in as an email over to the clerk, and then she will print it out. Every time we spend something, there's a folder. There's a paper folder. So in that paper folder, we'd have a record of these, so we know that we got, a fair price.
Unless it's an emergency,
Right.
like there's a tree
Emergency,
comes down in a road and,
Absolutely. And the
and
state.
we know somebody who can get rid of the tree, we need to move on that.
That's right. That's how we got started with John, in fact.
right,
John.
and that's not even, in his case, and I'll use it as an example, he was doing that and the shower was leaking so bad that he couldn't stop the leak, so.
But we turned it off, and somebody turned it back on.
Well, it was leaking when he got down there. He sent me pictures and just said, do you want me to fix it? And I said, yeah. And he goes, all right. And then he fixed it, And that happens sometimes. We start a project, even when we were doing Walnut and Chestnut, things start happening. Mike and I got out there and there's things that are happening that you don't know. Like we didn't know the drain was gonna have to be rebuilt or something, so that happens,
Well, we just have to kind of define emergency to be, health and safety.
Yeah.
But, clearly if a tree's blocking egress in the road, we have to jump on that and
Right.
get somebody. But when it comes to one of these things, we have to think about, is it really an emergency? Is there somebody, like John Mastuskas has that thing, and we could turn it off. You know, a couple of us tried to get down there, John Fair was down there trying to apply. But the water company came, and they turned it off. It's their thing. So, and really, we could have left it till the next year, because it's really not an emergency in the sense that we have, seasonal use that we absolutely need for that kind of thing. We could turn it off and worry about it next year. So, put it out the bid. So anyway, so I just think that that's the normal way we should be doing it, normal meaning, routine way of doing it.
Okay, anything else on that? Okay. All right, do you want to talk about the changes from 183 and 184? 64 and 183? Before we go to
Okay.
the public hearing?
Okay, so the next one on the list here is for Kevin.
No, 183.
No, number 10.
That might be what was emailed, this is new.
Oh, yeah. Are you looking at the email?
Well, I'll do it.
Yeah.
That's just
okay.
accepted that we were talking about it. So, the issues were that, we've had many hearings on NODP, and we've made the changes recommended.
We've had 3 already, this is gonna be our 4th. Okay.
However, and as I said, I would defer to Joe, and Joe said, we need to make it, even if it's one word, we need to make it another hearing, and officially do it. And so, we'll do that. So the changes were a couple of typos. There was one issue where Roger Flood had pointed out that there was inconsistencies between the section on docks and chapter 64, which is on docks. And I read both side by side, and I do feel that there is very little inconsistency. It's just the one thing. Actually, two things. One is, it was a mistake in chapter 183 that we still had 4-foot minimum for floating dock. And we had changed that as an amendment to chapter 64, to
Right.
3.5.
3.5,
So we
yeah.
clearly have to make that change.
At the mean height, right?
Right.
Low tide.
Low tide, low tide. But then the other issue was whether or not, in the rewrite of 183, which wasn't a rewrite, most of 183 was not totally rewritten, as he said. It was edited. We just changed, took out certain things, and made them stand alone, and I edited them for grammar and clarity and all that. So, the one on docks says in 183, which I did not change, was that only pressure-treated lumber could be used. Could be used, or should be used, or however it is. In the rewrite